Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Now in this video, I would like to discuss how you could actually obtain Australian citizenship by conferral. It's actually a very commonly asked question apart from getting visas, but once you get visa and become a permanent resident, how do you become an Australian citizen and also getting an Australian passport? So that's what we're going to discuss today. So we do not want to talk too much about what. Let's get into the actual immigration web page to get into the discussion. And in addition, I will go into the Google Jamboard, a whiteboard, to actually draw it out, because sometimes when we are looking at the text, it doesn't really make a sense. Do you have that kind of feeling? So what I'm suggest to do in this video, or perhaps in the future videos, I'll do more graphics drawing so you actually know what we are talking about. So let's go into the text first. So becoming Australian citizen by conferral, you have to be a permanent resident already. That's pretty much very easy to understand, because if you're not a permanent resident, how do you become a citizen? Okay, so that's not a brainer anyway. Now an eligible New Zealand citizen, what that meant is that based on the fact of the history in the past, if you are a New Zealand citizen and who has arrived in Australia prior 2002, you are deemed to be an eligible New Zealand citizen. That back then New Zealand and Australia could actually confer each other's citizenship or residency. So they are deemed to be known as treated as an Australian citizen or permanent resident anyway, but now it's not like that anymore. So if we go back in further history, back in the days, even back then, UK citizen can be deemed as Australian resident as well, but it's not there anymore. So that's a dated information. So but as the why is it still here? Because under the immigration's data and records, there are still a lot of Kiwis living in Australia. So if they would like to become an Australian citizen, here we go, that's the way to do it anyway. Now the main thing that we want to talk about is the residence requirement here. So we consider the amount of time living in Australia in the past 4 years. So here we go, the main key here is that you have been living permanently in Australia for at least 4 years, and that's actually gonna meet what they call the general residence requirements. So what does that mean? The point form down here, 3 of them, I'm gonna take it, have it discuss and read it through, and also go into a whiteboard to draw out to show you what it's look like. So you have to live in Australia for a valid visa for the past 4 years. So obviously without visa you can't be in Australia, so it cannot be unlawful as well. So you can have a student visa, working visa, whatever the visa that you have, as long as it's a valid visa for the past 4 years, and living there for 4 years in Australia, and the last year of that 4 years cycle, you have to hold a permanent resident visa. So you cannot just be a temporary visa and jump straight into Australian citizen. So the 4 years, so the first 3 years can be any valid visa, but the last year of that 4 year cycle has to be a permanent resident visa. Okay, then the last point is that away from Australia no more than 12 months in total in the past 4 years. So during these past 4 years, you cannot be away, overseas for more than 365 days, and in conjunction including no more than 90 days in a total of past 12 months. So the last year while you're holding a permanent residency, you cannot be overseas for more than 90 days. So general rule of thumb is very easy. If we break all this down, is that in the past 4 years you have been residing permanently in Australia, and each of the year of these 4 years you cannot be overseas for more than 90 days. That's easier, that's no brainer to actually understand. So let's jump into the actual whiteboard. Let me draw it out for you. Okay, so let's draw some diagram. So these are the timeline. So for instance, this year is 2020, and then we're going back to 2019, and then 2018, and 2017, and 2016. Okay, so these 4 years you have to be in Australia. So you have to be in Australia permanently, and every of these 12-month cycle, you cannot be away, or you cannot be overseas for more than 90 days. Okay, no more than 90 days. Have to be less or equal to 90 days. Okay, so that add up together to be 360. So 12 months of a year will be 365. So you can add one more day in each of these years anyway. But the last year that you can see here, it has to be a permanent residency visa. All the other 3 years prior to that can be a permanent resident visa, but it can be any other valid visa as well. So as long as you meet all these requirements, you'll be able to lodge the citizenship application. Okay, citizenship application. So then you meet the actual general resident requirement. And I think in this way, a lot of people ask me, so how long do I have to live there? Now the rule and the law does not say how long, but it counting back when you, so general rule of thumb is at least 4 years, but the time when you apply, then we need to count back all these 4 years and then calculate every of these 12-month cycle, have you been away for more than 90 days, and the last year has to be a permanent residency, then that actually make the requirement. So I think drawing this is much more easier for people to actually understand. Although it's a mess, I'm actually using a mouse to actually draw this way, but I think this will actually make more sense for a lot of people. Now the other thing I want to discuss is that once you lodge a citizenship application, there will be a test. Now that's a citizenship test. So the knowledge of Australia. Now you can actually download this information out of the Home Affairs website to actually get all the information that you're required to know about the knowledge of Australia. So it's basically about the climate, how many states, where is the capital city or capital territory of each state, and all these general information that you're required to know. And there's also a language requirement. Now back then they were trying to introduce having an IELTS test for becoming a citizen, but then now the law says that as long as you pass 75% of the citizenship test, then you also pass the language requirement test. So the aim is to get 75 out of 100. So as long as you pass that, everything's all good. Now, the other thing I want to add to this citizenship application is that for person who are 60 years or over, now you can also apply to become an Australian citizen, and the general resident requirement is the same. The only differences here is that you are not required to go for a test. So there's no more test, but you still need to have a general knowledge of the Australia, but you will be taking on an interview basis. And if your English is an issue for you, that's not a problem. As long as you are 60 years or older, you can actually request for an interpreter to accompany you on site. So once the officer question interviewing you understand what's it's general discussional and conversational stuff. So the people who are 60 years or older, you can also become an Australian citizen as well. Okay, so that's for the video today about how you can be meeting the criteria to actually become an Australian citizen. Should you have further questions, more than welcome to have the discussion forum down below at the comment section. Also, at last, I would like to ask for you to consider subscribe to my channel. So once we have more Australian visa insights, you will have all the things and news updated in timely manner. Thank you for watching. I'll see you for the next video. Goodbye.